Hi viewers, uh, this is Salahuddin with lecture number 16. In the previous lecture, we talked about Whig and Whig oligarchy. Today, we will talk about merits and demerits of the Whig ascendancy and its causes of its downfall. First, we will talk about the merits, then we will talk about their demerits, and then we will talk about on the causes of its downfall, how the big downfall started, what were the merits of the Whig ascendancy, and then the demerits of the Whig's ascendancy, and then the causes of its downfall. Uh, this age is surely known as the golden age of the Whig, which started from 1714 to 1760, and then because uh, they had everything in their hands regarding the administration, regarding the church, regarding the policies, both foreign and domestic. Whig established its supremacy in England from 1714 to 1760. They had complete control on the administration, on the church, and even on the policies, both at domestic level and as well as on foreign level. Thus, this age, therefore, is known as the golden age of the Whig. Because the previous time we would have kings, and those kings, they were authority and all and all. They had everything to do. The House of Lords, the House of Commons, they were just puppets in the hands of the king. Uh, so let's start. Let's take start and talk about the merits of the Whig rule. Whig rule means when the Whig was in complete control, when the Whig was in power. So, what was the merit of the Whig then? There are number of merits. We will talk about one by one the merits of the Whig. The first one is the end of the despotism of the kings. This goes in favor of or in favor of the Whigs, because they were against this despotism, the divine right shape of kings, and even the inheritance right of kings. So the Whigs, they were deadly against these rights, and Whig even enacted the Bill of Rights that was signed in 1689, soon after the Glorious Revolution, and then the Act of Settlement in 1701. So these the credit of these two acts goes to the Whig Party. Uh, and thus it was realized to the people that not the king, rather the parliament is the actual king maker. And the theory of divine right of king was gone for once and all. And however, on the other hand, uh, Tories, they lend great support to the divine right shape, and even to the inheritance of the kingship. So the Tories were supporting on one side, while the Whigs, they were deadly against this despotism of the king. So the first merit is the end of the despotism of the king. Then we talk about the establishment of fully democratic government. How the fully democratic government established in the in the meantime of Whig. Judge one, because of his ignorance of English, he could not attend the meetings. Thus, the and most influential person in the House of Lords or in the House of Commons, he would convene the meeting, and probably that person is Walpole, and thus the office or the post of PM was also created in this meantime. He began to form his ministry, form his party members. So thus a fully democratic government established in the uh, in the meantime of these Whigs ascendancy, and this is also the merit of the Whig Party. Thirdly, freedom of religious thought. This was another merit of the Whig Party, and every year they would pass the Indemnity Act, and according to this act, the dissenters, the non-conformists, they would be forgiven and would absolve them of all charges that were uh, mm, that they were fined against violating the religious laws or not in conformation with the Anglican Church. So, thus, the passing of the Indemnity Act, which really tantamounts to the uh, religious toleration. So this also took place in the time of the Whig party, and all the dissenters and the non-conformists would be forgiven. Thirdly, freedom of press. The Whig Party removed all the restriction imposed on the press by passing the Licensing Act in 1695. It gave freedom of speech, writing, and expression. So this is another merit of the Whig Party. Economic prosperity. The Whig lowered the rate of interest, and by setting up the sinking fund, decreased the national debt. Uh, Britain had fought wars, 7 year wars, in the successions war of France, Austria, and Spain. So, thus the country was highly in debt against. The Whig created a sinking fund through which they could remove or through which they could decrease the debt again on this on England, and even taxes were lowered on basic articles of daily life, even on raw materials. Trade laws were become more lenient and flexible. Thus, trade also flourished in this meantime. So, economic prosperity greatly mm, promoted in the time of Whig. And then Whig is trader and industrialist. They were a trader and industrialist, and of course, at that time, the trade would take place through sea roads. So the Whig give great edge and great importance to their navy to strengthen them in all aspects, and by dint of that powerful navy, they defeated the French and in 7 year wars. Thus, due to their robust and strong navy, they expanded their colonies, and they remained victorious throughout in Europe. So thus the Whig mm, greatly helped in this regard by establishing them a great power. So the Whig is a trader and industrialist, help England to come out a victorious power throughout the world. And then the success of the foreign policy, the merits in this regard and the success of the foreign policy, there are two main important mm, factors in this regard. The first one, by concluding the Treaty of Utrecht, that was signed at the end of the War of Spanish Succession. This was one merit that goes to the Whig Party by signing the Treaty of Utrecht, and we talked in detail about the uh, terms, condition, and clauses of the Utrecht Treaty. And then second is the recognition of the Hanoverian succession. The Hanoverian, they were recognized by all the great powers in Europe in their succession to the throne of England. So these two factors in the foreign policy are the mm, are the are the well-known regards of the Whig Party by the Britain. So let's come to the demerits of the Whig Party. We talked about the merits, and also let's talk about the demerits. There were two main demerits of the Whig Party. The first one is fall in morality, and the second one is the fall in the morality of the church. So how fall in morality? Because the Whigs, they were industrialists, they were landlords, they were the highly influential people, and they were a majority in both of houses, lords and commons. So they would use the power of patronage, they would use the power of bribery, they use many other illegal means to in order to secure the interest of the people par the in favor of the party. So using nepotism and flattery and thus these illegal practice become norms of the day in the time of the Whig Party. So this fall in morality resulted due to the cause that to win the favor of the people for the Whig Party. And second important demerit is the fall in the morality of the church. The Whigs, as we talked in the previous lecture, that the Whig would try to post such people on those key positions who were in kind of favor of the Whig Party and who were supporting the Whig Party. There was no place for the competent people and for the deserving people in the church. Even the bishops, those they were very common people, and they were even laymen, but they had the support of Whigs and they were in favor of the Whig. So that key positions were given to them just for the only one reason, that they were supporting the Whig Party. So, what were the causes of the downfall of Whig ascendancy? We like this the Whig, they were ascended and they were in the and their glorious period and on their golden time. But how their fall started then? Uh, the first cause was the George III, who came to the throne of England in 1760. George III believed in the personal rule. This was the first blow to the Whig ascendancy. He was much influenced by the ideas of his mother Augusta and his teacher Bolingbroke, the Tory leader. In 1761, he refused permission to Whig leader uh, Fit the Elder to attack Spain, and thus he resigned. Uh, when Fit the Elder wanted to attack the Spain, and he was not given the permission. He at once resigned, finding it unfair. In this key position of the Fit the Elder was lying vacant, on which very close and intimate friend of George III was posted and got benefited of that position in the form of his friends. For that position, he appointed his friend known as Bute, and led to a new group in the parliament called the King's Friends. King's Friends. So Whig Party was pulled down thus. Second important reason is dissension among the leaders. When the Whig Party, their power was increasing, thus in this meantime, the dissension among the leaders of the Whig Party also increases. And thus the George III, who was quite shrewd and judicious, he got opportunity and taking advantage of their rept. Thus he adopted the policy of divide and rule. So he also bring lot of changes in the ministry of the Whig. Thus, the divide and rule policy of George III greatly succeeded and led to the downfall of the Whig Party. Maintaining Whig supremacy by bribes, stipends, titles. Uh, the, the those who were supporting the Whig, they were not genuine. They were not genuine supporters, and they lent their support by giving them bribery, stipends, and titles, which which resulted in a kind of bad image in the public. So thus the support of the public or lack of support of the public resulted in the Whig downfall due to those notorious practices of bribery, nepotism, flattery. And fourth important reason is the Tory gained their last power. Tories, after the revolt of 1745, also changed their attitude and behavior, while the king, George III, who believed in the personal rule, he was also despotic, and he was also in favor of the divine right, right of kingship. While Tory, on the other hand, was also supporting these ideologies. And George III believed in his personal rule, and so he also got inclined to the Tories. Thus, the support of the Tories also led to the downfall of the Whig ascendancy. Use of the patronage power of the king. Earlier, this patronage power was used by the Whigs for their personal interest, but now the king himself started using this power uh, and power, and he wanted to become the real king and use his prerogative himself. King's influence on the people. George III allowed England, and he himself used to say, born and educated in this country, I glory the name of Britain. He believed in he believed in simple life and had great sense of duty. He was also liked by the people. He was he made himself popular in public by his characters, and he was man of great characters. And lastly, influence of the friends and supporters of the king. As we talked about that Bute, who was a very influential personality and a close friend of George III, who come on the place of fit the elder. So thus he made his own close friends in the parliament, and George III formed a party of his own supporters, and that party is known as the King's Friends. The Whig lost their supremacy within a decade, and George III soon established a personal rule. The king appointed them as minister to hold reins in his administration, and the king George III, he would appoint his close friends on those key positions in the church and the administration, which were earlier occupied by the Whig leaders. Now, George III, who was believing in the personal rule, and once again, he was in a kind of mood to bring back though he was not belonging to Stout dynasty, but he had some uh, mm, his behaviors really overlap with the with the kings of the Stout dynasty, and started ruling by himself. He could not. He was well versed in English. He was well aware of the Britain customs, cultures, and tradition, because he was born in Britain, and he was and he grew up there, yeah, in the Britain. Thus, he knew all the aspects of the English society. So this was really a great opportunity for George III to take back the powers that was earlier lost by the his predecessors, George I and George II. So this is all about the uh, Whig merits, demerits, and then the reasons of their falling down. So thank you so much for watching the video.